Welcome to Safest Truck. Safest Truck is powered by LogRock, the only digital tool built exclusively to help America's trucking companies stay compliant and stand strong when the DOT or lawsuits come knocking at your door.
All right, welcome everybody. This week with us, we have Dr. Alex Leslie of the American Transport Research Institute. The fleet owners who we know listen into our podcast, the fact that insurance rates have been rising is not going to be news at all. And this is a topic that we know trucking companies are dealing with, struggling with really on a daily basis and have been for years now. Let's jump straight in. I read your report and there were a few things that just stood out. I mean, it just knocked my socks off, to be honest. Let's start with the first one. Insurance premium costs per mile. So how much folks are paying for their insurance per mile increased by 47% over the last 10 years. But the rates are going up faster than the amount that people are crashing. So it's almost like the costs that are related to accidents, which is what we think insurance is there to protect us for, is actually not related to how much I'm paying for my insurance. Why do you think that's happening? What's driving that?
It's a complex series of factors, really. On the one hand, we have, simple inflation. We combine that then with what a lot of people in the industry call social inflation, which is just a change in social attitudes towards who should receive, payment and how much that should be. But there's also sort of broad economic factors at play here too. A lot of insurers have had issues with profitability in the last decade, and especially in the world of commercial auto insurance.
And is it almost fair to say that in a sense, businesses are being punished for growing, for expanding, because the insurance companies can't necessarily immediately keep up to understand what that means from a risk perspective?
Insurers are very good at this kind of calculation, of course, but when you have new fleets without loss histories, for example, these are unknown quantities. And so that's going to inevitably sort of add something in. And when you have issues with either an expanding driver force or turnover in the driver force, that's something right now that insurers are also looking at very carefully. They want to see experienced drivers. They want to see drivers who remain with the same company. Those are signs to them, and the data bears it out of safe driving. And so when you have something like expansion that throws that extra variable in there, so it's these couple sort of indirect ways where expansion good, but it can also come with these extra bits of unknowns that then require sort of time to bear out.
This is not impacting everybody equally. The smaller and medium-sized fleets are getting hit multiple times harder by these insurance rate increases than the big guys. Do I have that right?
Absolutely. And this is relatively consistent with how a lot of other cost centers work for small fleets versus large and very large fleets. And we can see that bear out every year in our operational costs of trucking report. But again, it's one of those factors where if you're already talking about small fleets paying that much more to begin with, those extra increases every year, each time that hits a little bit more.
How are trucking companies responding to these rate increases?
Yeah, on the first step is trying to restructure insurance policies, trying to either decrease their total coverage or increase their deductible per incident, or the amount that they have to pay first out of pocket before the insurance policy begins covering costs. The second is by improving safety. We see a lot of carriers who are taking incentives right now to take more of that risk into their own hands. And I think that's a very exciting and I think encouraging development. And then third, we're seeing some attempts to redistribute operational costs essentially. And this one is a bit more risky, trying to move some expenses from different cost centers in order to help cover that added insurance cost.
If you have less coverage, but you also improve your safety, what we're seeing is that folks are actually able to spend less in total. They are able to save money. Even though the premiums keep going up, they have less exposure to the premiums. They're basically exposing them. They're relying less on the insurance companies and more on themselves. And in doing that, they're able to reduce their costs. And a lot of that is through improving safety. So what are carriers doing to improve safety?
Yeah, one of the One of the tools is, of course, technology. We saw a large number of carriers 56%, over half, adding in 3 or more new safety technologies just in the last 3 years. I mean, this is a huge sea change, I think, that we're witnessing right now. And there's a variety of different technologies that they're adding, of course, and different carriers have different preferences, but that has been huge. Road-facing cameras in particular helped squash a lot of litigation from ever becoming litigation, a lot of crashes from becoming litigation. And that helps save some expense as well. Outside of the world of technology, of course, I think we really are seeing some changes in the way that we think about safety culture. This has been an issue that has, been talked about for a long time, but it's really taken on, I think, new legs as a lot of carriers are realizing now that safety isn't just one sort of department that you have over on the side. It's got to be part of the entire operation, and it's got to be present from, the bottom up, the top down, everywhere. It has to be present in the executive leadership of a carrier, and it has to be emphasized as important every sort of step of the way within a company.
So technology is playing, it isn't just culture, it isn't just training, it isn't just paying your drivers more to be safe. Technology is playing a big role in this, not just in terms of, hey, there's new technology out there. Folks are using it. Folks are adopting it. Folks are bringing these technologies into their fleets. That's a big part of the picture. Is that right?
Really, what's important here is that technology isn't just adopted, but is folded into the safety culture and again, really made to be an extension of the driver's skill.
Dr. Alex Leslie from the American Transportation Research Institute. This has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.